So doing things with simple methods looks great, as I'm showing you here in this movie. But the point is, this simplification has to come from somewhere. I can't just invent things out of thin air. So why does this work? Well, it works because we're cheating. And the cool thing is that in real life, you're occasionally allowed to cheat. So remember the water molecule. We don't really have that many things to tune in water. If we make this simple, you could argue that we have the charge on the oxygen, and no matter what charge I put on the oxygen, I'm going to need to put half that charge of the opposite sign on the hydrogens. So that's really just one number I can tune, how the charge is distributed between the oxygens and the hydrogens. To first approximation, I'll say that the angle and the bonds here, that I'll take those from quantum chemistry, so I'm not really going to change those. The other part is that we're going to need some sort of parameter describing the repulsion between this. That is, if two atoms get close to each other, how much are they repelling each other? In principle, that is two parameters, one for the oxygens and one for the hydrogens, but you will have to trust me when I say this. If you were to draw an water molecule a real way based on the radius of the atom, it would look completely bonkers, and that's why we don't do it, because it would look roughly this way. This would be the oxygen, and this would be one hydrogen, and this would be the other hydrogen. So you can probably come up with a reasonably easy approximation here. And if we just erase those hydrogens from the Lennard-Jones interactions, the van der Waals, I'll get back to those in a second, so that it's pretty much just one sphere with one radius. That's one parameter. And we combine that with the distribution of charge. That is two parameters. I can in principle set these two parameters to anything I want. So what should I set it based on? Well, I look at water. And there are two very simple things with water. I know what the density of water should be. And I know roughly how expensive it should be to, say, boil water, the heat of vaporization. And I can just change these parameters to make sure that they fit the experimental properties of water. It's a horrible way of cheating, and of course the reason this works is that quantum chemistry would get the same results but from fundamental first principles. Here I'm skipping over all that and just tuning it to fit the experiment. But if that works, then I'm able to reproduce the diffusion coefficient of water, as I'm doing in this movie. It works great, and I'm able to do this orders of magnitude cheaper than I could do with quantum chemistry. So it's a pretty cool approximation. Who came up with that approximation? Well, there were a number of scientists involved in this. There's a long story in this field, and unfortunately I won't have time to take you through all of it, but it started out in Shneur Lifson's lab in Israel and coming very much from polymer physics. I might even have said it. And the situation in polymer physics is that people started using something called semi-empiric parameterization. That sounds difficult. It's not really. The first principal ones, that would be the quantum chemistry. The fully empiric parameters, that would be if I just tune everything to fit experiments. And I didn't do that here, right? I took the bond lengths from quantum chemistry. I took the angles from quantum chemistry. At some point, you're going to see that we take charges from quantum chemistry. So I kind of use a little bit of quantum chemistry, and then I combine that with parameterizing it to fit experiments. And that's why we call it semi-empiric methods. These methods have become immensely popular the last few decades. The first people to come up with this was actually, it was Shneur Lifson and Ari Warshel in particular. And based on these methods, Ari and a few other colleagues were able to determine very detailed models of large molecules, enzymes, where they use quantum chemistry for a small part in the middle, and then these semi-empiric models outside of it. And for that work, they were rewarded with the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2013. Almost any high-impact paper you read in biology today, if it's a new structure or something, they frequently include a bit of simulation, which is kind of fascinating, because only 20 years ago, this was something very esoteric in theoretical physics. We're not going to start doing simulations quite yet, but we will have to look into a little bit about the interactions and how we model interactions in proteins, because that's going to be super useful when we start revisiting protein structure next week. So in